Imagine you're standing there for your F1 visa interview, and one of the first things that the visa officer will ask you is your I-20. And right in the middle of the I-20 is a box called the funding section, and this is one of the first things that the visa officer is going to notice about you. Do you know what these numbers mean and how to use them and present them in your interview? Well, this is exactly what we're going to discuss today. Keep on watching. Hi guys, my name is Shachi and I'm a USA visa coach. On this channel, you'll find lots of useful videos on the US visa process. We have a dedicated playlist for fall 2025, so make sure to subscribe and check it out. Over the last 4 years, I've worked with thousands of students, helping them clear the US visa process, many of them with a prior rejection. So I can help you with your DS-160 form as well as the interview prep. Do check the links in the description box below on how you can work one-to-one with me. So I-20 is the mandatory document for your visa interview. In fact, your entire F1 visa process starts once you receive the I-20 from your university. It's the confirmation that you've got your admit and you can go ahead and apply for the visa. And one of the most important sections in the I-20 is the funding section. So let's jump straight into an I-20. I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to understand both the columns and how exactly to use it in your interview. So I have with me the I-20 of a student, and this student already got their visa approved. And this is for the Midwestern State University for a business analytics program. So if I scroll down to the middle, I will see this box kind of a structure where you'll see financials written. And this is what we need to deep dive and discuss. So the first thing that I will notice in the financial section is that the duration is mentioned as 9 months. Now, though the I-20 is issued for the first 1 year, but the duration is mentioned as 9 months because this is the actual duration of your program. So the fall intake plus the spring intake, which is considered as the first year of your education in the US, comes up to a total of about 9 months, which is what is mentioned in the I-20. And the summer intake is something which is optional. Not all students opt for it. So instead of 12 months, 9 months is considered as the actual duration of the course. So the first column that you'll notice in the I-20 is the cost. So you will see that various expenses have been mentioned here, such as tuition, living, expense of a dependent, books, insurance, and miscellaneous. Now, keep in mind that this is not the actual cost, or this is not an invoice that your university has given you. This is an estimate of the costs that you might incur during the first year of your education. And this is exactly what the visa officers are also looking for. They want to get an estimate of what is the cost of this education, how much is this degree going to cost you. Now, many times universities make mistakes and include additional expenses. For example, in this case, the student had a dependent, his wife was applying with him, so dependent expense is mentioned. But there are also cases where the students don't have any dependents applying, and yet the dependent column, or the dependent row rather, gets mentioned in the I-20. So you need to do a quick check on your expense side and make sure that there is no additional or no non-applicable expense which has been put in your I-20. And you need to be familiar with the numbers. So be familiar with how much is your tuition fee, how much is your living, and what is the total expense for the first year of your education in the US. The second column is the funding. Now this is more important, and this is where you have complete control. So this column basically indicates how you're taking care of the expenses which have been indicated in the first column. And these numbers are those which you have submitted to the university during the time of applying for the I-20. So funding again is split into various different rows. So you have personal funds. Personal funds typically means funds that are there in your own account. Sometimes even education loan is put in personal funds. Then you have a scholarship or a tuition waiver. Then you have sponsorship from mother. In this case, sometimes it's also indicated as family funding. And you have on-campus employment and other sources. Now, keep in mind that the exact words used in the funding section vary from university. Different universities use different terms. For example, in this case, sponsor mother is mentioned, whereas some university might just put it as family funding. In this case, personal funds is mentioned. Some universities might mention it as an education loan. So the exact terminology would vary from university to university, but broadly, you have 3 sources of funds: personal funds, education loan, and family fund, and a fourth one also, that's the scholarship or any waiver that you would have got from the university. So once you understand what is the classification, it's important to make sure that the university has classified the funds in the same way that you have shown them. Many times university will club funds and put it into one bucket instead of properly showing it into the different categories. For example, let's say that you applied, you showed an education loan and your family funds. Many universities club it and put it into one column of family funding. But it would be a good idea to separate it out and put it in different sections so that the visa officer gets a clear picture of what your funding looks like. The second thing to note is that many universities will not mention the scholarship, even though you would have got a scholarship, but they will not mention it in their I-20. It's again a good idea to ask them to include it because I-20 is what the visa officer is looking at. So if the scholarship is mentioned, it will be immediately, visible and it will be obvious to the visa officer. The third thing is that try and see if your university can mention funds more than 1 year of the education. For example, in this case, you can see that the first year is 36,000. Now, actually for the I-20, it would have been enough if we just showed 36,000. But this student has shown more and the university has also mentioned the entire funding. Now, when the visa officer looks at it, he gets the immediate impression that this student has funds enough, not just for 1 year, but for the entire duration of his course. And which is a much better way to show funding than just showing it for 1 year. So do check with your university and see if they can show funding for the entire duration of your course. So if you already have taken education loan, you already have family funds, most likely you're entirely covered. So get it mentioned in the I-20. In case you're going for courses like bachelor's course, which are longer, it might not be possible for you to show funding for the entire duration. In that case, show a little bit more. So instead of showing just for 1 year, try to show for 2 years or try to show for 1.5 years. Keep in mind that many universities will not allow this, and even if you give them all the funds, they will just put the amount sufficient for 1 year. If that's the case with you, then make it up in the visa interview. And when you give your answers for funding, make sure that you're showing funds not only for 1 year, but for the entire duration of the education. And the most important thing about funding is that these funds need to remain till your visa interview. Now, typically there is some time gap between the I-20 being issued and the actual visa interview. And many times what happens is that the funds change. Like a student would have shown funding in the father's account, but by the time the visa interview comes, those funds don't exist anymore. That shouldn't happen. The funds have to remain consistent. Whatever is the story in your I-20, the same story has to be told in the visa interview. For example, in this case, the student has said that the mother has 61,000 of funding. So now when he went for the visa interview, mother's account should have the same amount of funding. There can be some bit of variation, that's fine, but there should not be too much. 61,000 shouldn't become 40 or 50,000 USD. If you're still here, still watching the video, do give it a thumbs up and comment below which university are you going to. By now, I'm sure you would have received the I-20 for the university that you want to target for fall 2025. So do put down the name of the university below. Also, do check the links in the description box. You will find tons of free resources to help you prepare for your F1 visa process. And the free resource I'm particularly excited about for you is the fall 2025 workbook. So this is a workbook where we put together all the required links, all the necessary checklists, and basically all the information that you would need to complete your F1 visa journey this year. So definitely do check out the fall 2025 workbook. The link is right below in the description box and it's a free PDF. So now that we've understood the funding section of the I-20, let's quickly discuss what are the funding related documents you need to take with you for the visa interview. And these are the documents which are going to support the numbers mentioned in the I-20. For the sake of simplicity, I've divided the documents into 4 different parts. Let's discuss it one by one. First category is income. So what is the annual income of your sponsor is a very common visa interview question. And you need a document which supports the number that you're going to tell the visa officer. So let's say that you tell the visa officer that my father is my sponsor and he earns about 15 lakhs per year. So you need an income supporting the number 15 lakhs. Now, the most common document that you can take for income is ITR, income tax return, which basically shows the gross annual income of your sponsor. And you can take ITR for your parents, mother, father, whoever is the sponsor. If you have an external sponsor, like let's say an uncle, aunt, or a grandparent, you can take their ITR as well. Now, in many cases, ITR might not be possible, or let's say that your sponsor comes from an agriculture business, they might not really have an ITR. A substitute to ITR is a CA certificate, so a chartered accountant certificate. So this is a certificate made by a chartered accountant who has assessed the income, the net worth of your sponsor, and who issues a certificate, verifying that this is the income of your sponsor and this is all the net worth that they have. So a CA certificate can also be taken as an alternative if ITR is not possible. In case you want to understand more about the CA certificate, what is the format for it, how exactly to get it done, do comment CA certificate below. And if there are many of you interested, we can actually make a separate video explaining about the CA certificate. The second category of documents is savings. Now, the savings that your sponsor has, that is the liquid savings, is going to fund your education in the US. And liquid savings are basically your bank accounts, FDs, mutual funds, PF, PPF, stock, equity, any bonds. Many times I see students make a mistake of considering just the bank account for the savings. But don't restrict yourself to only bank account. Savings essentially means all the financial savings of your sponsor. So you need the proof that your sponsor has savings. For this, you could either take individual statements. So you can take the bank account, FD, mutual fund statement, stock statement. So take all the individual proofs and make sure that these are updated and as closest to the interview date as possible for you. Or you could also consolidate everything and again get a chartered accountant certificate made where all these savings and all the other financial proofs of your sponsor is mentioned. The third category is assets. Now, the properties, the land that your sponsor owns is also important, though they're not directly funding the education in the US, but it is a backup. It shows the visa officer that apart from the main funds, there's also backup funds which are available, and also indicates home ties. Because if your parents or your sponsor has properties, land in India, very likely that somewhere down the line, they are going to become your properties, your land as well. So indirectly, it also indicates home ties to the visa officer. So again, for proof of properties, you could either take the individual documents. So let's say you have property tax or you have the registration of the property in the name of your sponsor. You could take those, or you could take again a consolidated CA certificate wherein the proof of the property as well as the value of the property is clearly mentioned. Before we move to the fourth category, a quick note for those of you who might not have parents as your sponsor. So let's say that your uncle, aunt, grandparent, or any other relative is sponsoring you, then an additional document is required called the affidavit of support. And this affidavit of support essentially confirms that they are your sponsor and they're going to, they are willing to fund the education in the US for you. Again, if you want to understand more about the affidavit of support or need a sample for this, do comment below affidavit of support below so that we can incorporate it in the next video. And this brings us to the fourth and the final category of the documents, and this is your loan related documents. So many of you would have taken an education loan for funding a part of the education in the US. Now, when you go for the visa interview, you need the loan sanction letter, which confirms that your loan is sanctioned. It indicates the amount. It also has other important details like what is the rate of interest, what is the repayment period of the loan. And by the way, these are also visa interview questions. There have been questions asked, what is the rate of interest of your loan? Is it a secured, unsecured loan? What is the tenure of your loan? So make sure that you do read the loan document completely before the visa interview. Now, it might also happen that you've applied for the loan, but the loan has not yet got sanctioned. In that case, you can get something called the in-principle sanction from your bank, which basically indicates that the loan is in process and it is going to be sanctioned in some time. So either take the proper sanction letter or the in-principle sanction. And if the in-principle sanction is also not possible, you could get an email from the bank or the NBFC, which confirms that your loan is being processed. So having an education loan, I feel, is a good advantage because it gives you the flexibility in funding and also does not show complete dependence on one sponsor. So if you have applied for education loan, even if it is not completely sanctioned, make sure to take whatever document you can to support it and mention it in your visa interview. So this was all about the funding section of the I-20. I really hope that this video has helped you. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. You could also DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @shachi.mall and we can chat more there. And before I go, let me tell you about the flagship program for F1 visas for this year. This is called the 7-day program. And this, I think, is the most comprehensive, stress-free way to prepare for your visa interview. This is a program we run every intake. And every intake, we see great success with students who enroll for the 7-day program. This is an in-depth program which takes care of everything, right from understanding your profile, filling or reviewing the DS-160 form, framing answers, and multiple mocks. This ensures that you are properly and thoroughly prepared for the visa interview. This year, we have already started the 7-day program and many of you have already enrolled for it. So if you're looking to prepare one-to-one with me, do check out the link in the description box below. And I would highly recommend signing up early so that we have enough time to take you through all the sessions and prepare you thoroughly. Once you're done watching this video, do check out this video on I-20. This is a quiz video wherein you can take a short quiz of 8 questions and see if you've really understood the I-20 and all the important factors in it. And we have more useful videos coming your way for the fall 2025 series. So do stay tuned. Signing off for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.